I have been wanting to talk about this pretty much ever since I knew that I was going to be making this kind of content, and specifically when I knew I was going to be doing this around Christmas time, inevitably. Hey everyone, my name's Christian Verstappen, and I have a lot to say about many things. I want to talk about one of the dumbest controversies that ever existed in regards to Christmas and culture and just so many different things. At the height of the Me Too movement, the classic Christmas song, Baby It's Cold Outside, was scrutinized very heavily, and we got articles such as this: Why Baby It's Cold Outside became an annual controversy about date rape and consent. I have a few articles to go over here, but my ultimate take on this, as we'll get to in a moment, is very much what this says. Baby It's Cold Outside is feminist, and actually, it is a progressive anthem for women. We'll get to that though. So, let's see what we have here. Oh, so it's not even by Martin Dean. My apologies. Okay. Frank Loesser's 1944 Baby It's Cold Outside has been a beloved Christmas song staple for decades, covered by legendary pairings from Johnny Mercer and Margaret Whiting in 1949 to Idina Menzel and Michael Bublé in 2014. When you first hear it, the song seems like a cute, flirty call and response duet between a man and his lady friend who are debating whether or not she should stay the night. It is. On the one hand, what would her parents or the neighbors think? On the other hand, it's just so cold outside. The ending is ambiguous, but it's implied that she decides to stay after all, keeping them both warm on a cold winter's night. But when you listen closer, the song's lyrics also seem, well, a little rapey. The guy ignores his date's protests and badgers her to stay, which feels a lot like sexual coercion. At one point, the woman says, "Say what's in this drink," which is pretty alarming to a modern audience that understands how roofies work. The original score even lists the man's part as wolf and the woman's part as mouse, making the predator/prey dynamic creepily explicit. The song's legions of defenders argue that those concerns are overblown. They note, "What's in this drink" was a common joke in the 1930s and 40s, made by people who wanted to make an excuse for something that they knew very well they shouldn't be doing. And to be clear, that's something people still do. How many times have you heard, even these days, or in the last 5, 10, whatever, 15 years, not sure what the age of you guys are watching this or anything, but regardless, how many times have you heard or seen people say things like, "Oh, well, I was drunk"? Hell, even the song, shit, what is it called? I can't, I can't remember what the song's called. Hallelujah, Hallelujah by Panic at the Disco. We have the song where, and this is him explaining to his girlfriend, wife, his partner, why he ended up sleeping with another woman, and he specifically says, and you know, cheating. He's trying to, justify it in this song, and he says, or at least he's trying to justify something that he did, where he says in the second verse, "I was drunk and it didn't mean a thing." Oh, it could even be, I'm sorry, it might not even be about okay, just real quick on this song, although it's not what this video is about, but real quick on this song. I always thought this was about either infidelity or it's about, just having a fight in general, something like that. The reason I thought it was infidelity is because there's a song, Under the Covers with Secondhand Lovers, uh, things like that. My life started the day I got caught under the covers with secondhand lovers. So when he says, and then we go into the second verse, "I was drunk and it didn't mean a thing, stop thinking about the bullets from my mouth." He's trying to say what what I did and what I was saying doesn't actually mean anything. He's trying to absolve himself from responsibility for, we'll get to that in a moment, for saying what he did. And a lot of people do this. I talked about this before. How my even my ex fiance who cheated on me said, "Oh, I was drunk. Like it didn't no, it still means something. Like just because you were drunk, because all that, like you're still culpable at least to an extent for your actions. But the way that people often use even the phrase, like women especially will do this, where they'll talk about like getting drunk, getting wasted, and getting laid, or something to that effect. Guys will too, mind you. But generally speaking, you have this concept of, women know that they are, especially women know that it is socially unacceptable for them to just go out and get laid or just sleep with a guy. So they have to say, "Oh, hey, what's in this drink? This drink's," or you've even heard, guys have even said things like, "Oh, this drink's got me acting up," those kind of things too, right? So, yeah, but I'm sure we'll get to that in a moment here. Okay, what was their common joke? Da 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 da. And in that more prudish time period, women were expected to turn down sex, at first anyway, even if they wanted it. The vastly different ways people hear the same short song have set off an annual internet battle over its feminist merits. For every think piece calling it a date rape anthem, there's a corresponding "oh come on" uh, take about how oversensitive social justice warriors are killing romance and seduction and taking the song's lyrics out of context. Which reading is right? Is "Baby It's Cold Outside" too problematic to enjoy with a clear conscience anymore? Or is our perception of it the real problem? The answer isn't totally simple, and it's also about more than just one Christmas song. The debate gets to the heart of a major culture war over sexual assault, consent, and political correctness. A war that came to a head in 2016 when America elected a president who's been accused of sexual assault. So, are the lyrics rapey or romantic? Well, I'm going to make it really simple here for you. I very much lean on the side of simply saying this entire song, and we'll get to it as we read this article more and some other articles we're going to go over here. This song was, for its time, and I believe even now, is progressive. The entire content of the song, and I'm going to show a specific artist in a moment here, although I can't actually play the song, but I'm going to go over their rendition of the song and how it's done up in an even more kind of flirty manner, where the entire point, throughout the entire song, the woman is saying, "I need to go, I need to leave," and then he's saying, "Yeah, but it's cold out there. Like you need to stay." And she's coming up with these excuses, these reasons where she's saying like, "Oh, but I really can't because what will the maid think? What will the neighbors think? What will let me actually find the lyrics here. Where are the lyrics? I had them. Here they are. Let's put those here. Right. My mother will start to worry. My father will be pacing the floor. Listen to that. And then maybe just it's just a half a drink more. I don't know what how means, but maybe just a half a drink more. She's saying like, well, okay, I'll stay for another drink. This is similar to how, unfortunately, you can't generally just tell a woman when you're on a date, like, "Hey, let's hook up." You have to be kind of coy about it and be like, "Hey, let's go back for a drink at my place." Something like that. You can't just say, "Let's hook up. I want to sleep with you," because that isn't socially acceptable. And that is, oh my god, I knew that was going to happen. So if we look at the lyrics here, we even have, "I really can't stay." We have, "My mother will start to worry. Beautiful, what's your hurry?" "My father will be pacing the floor." The neighbors might think, and then she's like, "Hey, what's in this drink?" Oh, maybe, and then she says, where is it? Let me just half drink more. It's somewhere here. Yeah, maybe just a half a drink more. It's supposed to be half, not had, but yeah, maybe just a half a drink more. So the whole concept is that she is saying she understands that socially she is supposed to say, "I can't stay with you tonight," even though she is wanting to. And he is saying he's giving she's basically doing what she's supposed to do as a pure and virtuous woman, of giving all these reasons why she can't stay. Meanwhile, he's giving these reasons to say, well, it is really cold out. People would understand if you stayed, because this is why she even says the neighbors might think, you know, there's bound to be talk tomorrow. All these different lines in the song. So we'll get into it in a moment here, right? Are the lyrics rapey or romantic? I pasted the lyrics below. Oh, I didn't even have to go and find them. Okay. With some annotations to help explain why it's possible to hear the same song in two very different ways, and perhaps equally valid ways. I'll call these two different interpretations the romantic reading and the rapey reading. I would say flirtatious, but sure, call it romantic. In the romantic reading, the woman really does want to stay, but feels socially pressured to leave. It is 1944, after all, and it's scandalous for an unmarried woman to spend the night with a man. But since it's obvious to her date that she really does want to stay, he feels no compunction about pressuring her, and she's also more than happy to be given an excuse to do what she wants to do anyway. Besides the romantic reading arguers, Louisser, again, I'm sorry, I'm not sure how to pronounce this, used to perform the song with his wife at parties as entertainment. It's clearly meant to be a cute story about romance, and we're doing the song disservice if we divorce it from its historical context. I do agree with that as well. If you think about it, the song could even be read as a feminist anthem, 100%. A subversive celebration of women's sexual agency in a repressive time. That right there, that's how I view it. That is absolutely how I view the song. Now, I will get into this in a moment too, and maybe we'll even get into this here as this article goes over it. But the reality is, at the end of the day, and this is a beautiful thing about music in general, but it does become a bit of an issue when you try to put this, cultural spin on these kind of things and make them a huge issue. These are the things. How do I phrase this? Different people can listen to the same song and derive different meanings. That's something that's actually really cool about music, is I can listen to the same song as somebody else and get a completely different message from it. But because art is open to interpretation and everything, that is something that makes it really good. But at the same time, it could very well be valid for people to see this as a negative thing. So we'll get into it here. Okay. The rapey reading, on the other hand, finds the events of the song troubling given our modern understanding of how sexual consent and sexual assault work. Regardless of what Louisser intended, it's a lousy model for romance that normalizes sexual coercion and date rape. The rapey reading allows for the possibility that the woman really does want to go, and if that's the case, it becomes much more obvious why the man's behavior is a problem. Sure, maybe she'll end up staying because the man won't stop bothering her, and it seems easier to just give in at a certain point. But just because she gives in doesn't mean she really wanted it, or that she'll feel good about it afterward. And whether or not she enjoys herself, and whether or not she feels violated or ashamed afterward, the ends of how she feels about it later still don't justify the means of how he got her to stay. It's a bad, coercive, and common dynamic that many women and men have had unpleasant experiences with, and it can very easily lead to or be used to justify rape. So far, I really like this article. I really like this article because this really is doing its best to look at the situation and say, well, here's one way of looking at it, and here's the other way of looking at it. Personally, I'm of the opinion that it is very flirtatious. Again, especially for the time, it is absolutely progressive. It is sex positive. It is so many good things, and I understand the issue that some people have. I don't see it, but I am very interested to learn about that here. So let's see here. The lyrics annotated. The woman's part goes first, right? I really can't stay. Baby, it's cool, right? So I really can't stay, baby. It's cold outside. I've got to go away, baby. It's cold outside. This evening has been hoping that you dropped in. So very nice. You can, if you're listening to this and you're not like watching this, I do that with a lot of these videos myself. I hope you know the song. you know, um, I could just say girl, guy here, and you'll know like who I'm. So like, okay, girl, I really can't stay, baby, or guy, baby, it's cold outside. Girl, I've got to go away. Guy, baby, it's cold outside. Girl, this evening has been. Guy, I've been hoping that you've dropped in, or you hoping that you drop in. Anyway, um, she's so very nice, and of course, those of you that know the song, I'm sure you know how well everything comes together and how well this flows when you don't have some person like me trying to just read it off without any inflection or singing or anything. Anyway, so the romantic. She had a nice time and doesn't really want to leave, and he's holding her hand. Um, okay. Rapey. Yikes. He's starting to put pressure on her. Stay on her to stay. That's not cool. Women are socialized to be polite and even a little flirtatious when rejecting a man's advances to avoid making him angry or even violent. Sure, she said she had a nice time, but she doesn't mean it. We don't know, and he doesn't seem interested in finding out. Okay, I guess we're going to analyze this piece by. I might not even need to go any of the go. I might not even need to go over any of the other articles here. Which, if I don't, I went and subscribed to the Washington Post for nothing. You have to subscribe before you can read their articles. So anyway, let's see here. We might still read these articles though. We'll find out. Okay, so where do I stand on just this part here? I can understand the rapey part where people are coming from, where they're thinking that that's what this is about. But let's see here. I think, quite frankly, the first verse, or whatever you want to call this, the first stanza, I guess, the first four lines, you don't have enough context to really know, especially just going off of the verse itself. Um, I'm very familiar with the version with Brian Setzer and Anne Margaret. This is Brian Setzer. This is Anne Margaret. They did a duet for one of Brian's many Christmas songs or Christmas albums, Boogie Woogie Christmas. Brian Setzer, I've talked about him before, but he is a rockabilly artist. He's famous for being in the Stray Cats and things of that nature. He's very very kind of old school rock and roll vibe to him. Cool dude from everything I know about him. I don't know him personally. If he's done anything bad, or I don't know, but he does a lot of cool, like updated, rock versions of Christmas songs, and I'm really into that. So I like a lot of his music with this. But the way that these two have performed this song is, in my opinion, it is very clear, basically from the beginning, from the tone of these two, that it is entirely flirtatious. There's even parts where, and we'll get to it later here, but some of the stuff is where they're talking, and you really hear the tone in their voice throughout most of it, because they really are talking, especially the part where she doesn't say, let me see here, Jesus, what is this? You're very pushy. God damn, this is like, okay, this is a very gross version of the song. I don't know what this shit's about. Um, yeah, no. I mean, if this was actually in it, this "you're very pushy," I'd like to think that is really fucked up if that wasn't the song, but that's not in the song. This is in Adina Menzel's and I guess Michael Bublé. I think they did it. It's in their version of it. I'm trying to find the lyrics here though, where she says, or maybe you know what? Maybe it's here. Maybe here. Maybe it's not okay. They have FM for this. Cool. Anyway, maybe they don't even have what? Oh, here it is. Okay. Oh, I don't know how they did this because so they have the lyric written here. See, let me get a comb. The way it's actually performed in the song, in this version of the song with these two here, is she says, "Hey, I need a comb," and she says this at I got to go home. He's like, you'll freeze out there. I guess she's like about to leave, and she's like, hey, I need a comb. She's, again, coming up with reasons to stay. She doesn't actually need a comb to go out in the blizzard and when she's going to have a hat on and everything. Anyway, my point is, different artists that have performed this can have different inflections on the song, and the way that the tone is between the two people, I think, is very important as well. But anyway, let's continue moving on here. My mother will start to worry. Beautiful, what's your hurry? My father will be pacing the floor, listen to that fireplace roar. So really, I better scurry. Beautiful, please don't hurry. It can also be performed. Beautiful, what's your hurry? But maybe just a half a drink more, or well, maybe just a half a drink more. I'll put some records on while I pour. The neighbors might think maybe it's bad out there, or in Brian's version, he says, "Yeah, but it's bad out there." Say, "What's in this drink? No cabs to be had out there." So these parts here, and we'll get to this in a moment here, right? But these parts here, my mother will start to worry, my father will be pacing the floor. These people that know where I am, that are expecting me home, they're going to worry. Almost as if to say, if it wasn't for these other people if other people wouldn't know, I would have less reason to need to leave. I'm not really leaving for my sake. I'm leaving for their sake. So we'll look at the rapey and romantic thing here, right? So, and again, we discussed the what's in this drink thing. It's just, oh, what's in this drink? Yeah. Rapey, what's in this drink? And no cabs, no way for her to get home. This is awful. She's trapped and he knows it. And he's basically gloating about it. Plus, beautiful, what's your hurry? Just sounds really creepy and predatory. No, especially not. Come on. Beautiful, what's your hurry is predatory? To to call a woman like beautiful, or like, no, I haven't talked about this shit actually. Oftentimes when I'm dating, when I'm seeing a woman, well, especially when I'm dating and I'm like um exclusively dating a woman, I joke about this to my friends and stuff. They no longer have a name because I just call them babe all the time. And in my experience, oftentimes my pet name, as it were, tends to just become baby or something like that. So it's cute, babe and baby. But like, there's nothing wrong. Like, it's a little pet name. Now you can say, oh well, this is just their first date, and we don't know that it's their first date. We don't know how they met, how long they've been dating, or anything like that. There's so much that can be inferred. And again, this is what's great about it, is that it is all open to interpretation. But the dark side of that is that it's all open to interpretation. So people can, I'm not going to say incorrectly interpret this, but they can interpret this in a harmful way when I don't think that's how it's intended at all. So, romantic, historical context matters a lot here, yes, it does. What's in this drink used to be a stock joke, right? Kind of talked about this earlier, right? The punchline was nothing, not even much alcohol, as one and also. It's not a joke about how she's drunk and about to be raped. It's a joke about how she's perfectly sober and about to have awesome consensual sex, to use the drink for plausible deniability. Exactly. Because she's living in a society where women aren't supposed to have sexual agency. Absolutely correct. 100%. Plus, getting another drink is her idea. He doesn't force it on her. That is true. That is very true. And again, the way that these songs are performed, or the different ways that the song is performed, changes a lot too, because there's a difference, I think, even just between the simplicity of but maybe just a half a drink more versus well, maybe just a half a drink more. Now, both of these, right? One of these, well, maybe just a half a drink more, which is the way that I'm used to knowing it, is where, and I think it's the way that Zoe Deschanel sung it in Elf as well, but the way that I know it, well, maybe just a half a drink more, is to essentially say, what the fuck? Maybe just half a drink more. But maybe half a drink, just a drink more, is similar, but it's kind of like, oh, I really need to get out of here. but let me just have more of a drink first. Let me just give myself more of a reason to stay here, right? And they're right. She points out, she offers getting a drink more, plus getting her idea, force it on her. She's clearly looking for excuses to make this feel more socially acceptable. Absolutely. Absolutely. Women still do this to this day because of slut shaming and different things like that. Real quick on that, by the way, I am very anti slut shaming. I am pro what I call um, slut praising. If you want to encourage women to do things like have fun, consensual sexual relationships with other people, other men, other women, other non-binary people, anything, encourage women to take agency and to enjoy having sex. Encourage them to be sluts, because when I use the word slut, what I really mean is just somebody who is sexually free. Actual slut shaming, when people are like horrible to women who are, you know, um, taking control of their own sexual agency, that is absolutely disgusting. So every time she says she wants to leave, she's always worrying what other people will think. Her parents, her aunt, her neighbors, but what she herself will think is another story. 100%, absolutely. I wish I knew how. Oh, to break the spell. Right. So we have I wish I knew how. Your eyes are like starlight now. To break the spell, I'll take your hat. Your hair looks swell. I ought to say no, 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 sir. Mind if I move in closer? At least I'm gonna say that I tried. What's the sense in hurting my pride? I really can't stay, baby. It's cold outside. To me, this part right here breaks down the entire idea that this is anything non-consensual. This is entirely progressive. This is especially for its time. This is entirely sex positive, giving her agency. Because what is she saying? First, she's saying, "I wish I knew how to break the spell." What could that refer to? Could that refer to the purity culture that she's around? Quite possibly. More than likely, it probably means, "I wish I knew how to break the spell you have over me. I wish I knew how to just stop being attracted to you and just leave. I wish I could just do that because I know that's what I'm supposed to do. I ought to say, no, no, no. At least I'm going to say that I tried." That right there, I should say no. I know that socially, I am supposed to say no. That is the socially acceptable thing that a good woman is supposed to do. If I want to be a good woman, I ought to say, I am supposed to say, I am socially expected to say no. At least I'm gonna say that I tried. And you can even take this as with him, him picking up on her cues, like, "Oh, I should really say no," and then he's like, "Mind if I move in?" And by the way, he is actually asking, "Mind if I move in closer?" He's not just moving in, like, he's not just moving in. He's asking, "Mind if I move in closer?" And then she says, after he even says that, "At least I'm gonna say that I tried," as if to say, like, "Oh, hey, can I move in closer? Can I close to you?" And then she's like, "This is really hard to resist. I'm going to at least say that I tried to resist," because she doesn't want to. She's only doing this because she thinks that she's supposed to. So, um, oh, okay. So going back to this rendition of the song again, it's the one I'm most familiar with. I love it. It's a great song, and it highlights the tone and how much that really does matter. So we have, "I simply must go. The answer is no." Now, when she says this in the Brian Setzer version, she says it very annoyed. And there are two ways to even view the tone of that delivery. By the way, I highly recommend listening to this because it is a very good rendition of the song. But in that version, and I think I've heard other versions like this too, she is annoyed and she just says, "The answer is no." She doesn't sing it. She just bluntly says, "The answer is no." Now, there are two ways that you can view even that. You can view that as her saying, "No, I'm done. Stop pressuring me. We're not doing this. I said no." Or you can view her as saying, because she kind of sighs, she's annoyed. You can view it as her being annoyed with society, that she knows The answer is no. Like, she doesn't want to say no, but she knows she's supposed to say no. Your welcome has been. How lucky that you dropped in. So nice and warm. Look out the window at this dawn. So, romantic. She's clearly into him. She's under the spell of attraction. And she knows she ought to say no, but she doesn't want to. At least I'm going to say that I tried. Feels like a shrug. She's put up the socially acceptable amount of resistance, and now she can have the fun she wants to have. Plus, he actually asks for consent. He asks, mind if I move in closer? I just said that. I didn't even read this before. I'm glad we're on the same page here. Now let's look at the rapey angle. That's not asking for consent. She says no, 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 but he blatantly ignores that and just swoops in before she has a chance to tell him whether she minds or not. And he seems to care a lot more about his pride than her consent. She does qualify that no, no, no with I ought to, but again, that could easily be an attempt to refuse him as politely as possible so he doesn't get pissed off. And later, she flat out says the answer is no, but he doesn't respect that at all. He just goes back to whining for the 50th time about how it's so cold outside and hoping that this time it'll change her mind. So I understand where both people are coming from. Clearly, you can see the bias that I have, and that I very much view this as a um, uh, progressive, sex positive, all that good stuff. I very much do. But to give credence to this idea that it isn't, I can understand that as well. Again, I just don't see it overall. I mean, I can see it, but I don't see it overall. You get what I mean? I disagree. I understand where people are coming from with this mindset, but I just disagree. And I think, again, the nail in the coffin of this entire debate of, oh, is this like romantic or rapey, as this article calls it, is just simply, I ought to say no. She doesn't want to say no. And one of the reasons, by the way, that this is so important to me is that there's a lot of conversation, and there has been, and I promise I'll be talking about this relatively soon, I think. But there's a lot of conversation, and there was, especially at the time that all this controversy was happening for the last couple of years, of people speaking very harshly on this idea of consent, and how, like, oh, you can't do this to a woman, don't approach a woman here, don't do this, don't talk to a woman this way, don't do this, da, 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 da. And it's like, okay, but what the fuck are we supposed to do? Because if you are not going to approach us, you are not going to make a move on us, and they don't, what the fuck are we supposed to do? You tell it, like, broadly speaking, pop feminism, as I like to call it, BuzzFeed or cosmopolitan feminism, second wave feminism, really kind of put forth this idea that basically you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. And this song was just a big, I guess it was the Christmas edition of that kind of stuff, and what I would say is a cultural confusion, because there were no solutions offered to these kind of things. Okay, how do you ask for consent? What are the appropriate ways to approach a woman? All these different things. A lot of people would be just really bitchy about this stuff, where they'd be like, if your concern about this is that you won't get a date or you won't get laid, then that's your problem. It's like, no, if you're gonna point out problems, you need to offer solutions as well. Otherwise, you're not doing fuck all. Okay. My sister will be suspicious. Gosh, your lips look delicious. My brother will be there at the door. Waves upon the tropical shore. My maiden aunt's mind is vicious. Gosh, your lips are delicious, but maybe just a cigarette more. Never such a blizzard before. So, I understand, because I've even heard this before when I've listened to it, right? The idea of, there are two ways that you can even look at the your lips look delicious, and then gosh, your lips are delicious, right? You can look at this in two ways. Have you ever seen those kind of movies? You've seen those kind of scenes where, or you've even been in these moments where you've been in like a deep, intimate conversation with a person that you're attracted to. You're both attracted to each other. You're feeling the vibes. The chemistry is really kind of coming in for both of you, and you're having those moments where your speech kind of starts to slow down more. Everything gets more intense, and you just kind of slowly kiss them. Your lips kind of slowly meet, and you have that nice romantic, intimate moment. You can view this as that happening, where she's like in the middle of saying, she's like, my brother will be there at the door, waves upon the tropical shore, and like at this moment they're both in this moment where they're slowing down, their lips meet, and they do kiss. It's that kind of thing where the person's like, oh, I really shouldn't be doing this. Yeah, and then the two kind of like go back and forth about it, and then before you know it, they're like, they're kissing, they're making out, they're whatever, right? Of course, it can escalate from that depending on both of them, but you get the idea, right? Um, and you can take it as after that kiss, she even then says, maybe just a cigarette more. Again, coming up with another reason as to why she is staying. Now, you can also look at this, though, as saying he just kissed her without consent. You can look at it that way, and I'm sure that's what this one will look at in a moment, too. Um, but that is my original viewing of this content here, these lyrics. So romantic. Again, it's all about other people, not her. Also, he goes from saying her lips look delicious to saying they are delicious, which probably means he kisses her. And it's so hot and she's into it that she stops worrying about what her family will think and makes yet another excuse to stay for just a little while longer. Agreed. Rapey. So what if she's worried what other people will think? That's totally rational. The social consequences for her will be no joke, whereas he will probably face no consequences at all because patriarchy. Yes, this is true, but that's you don't beat that system. These people, they like to talk about smashing the patriarchy, and yes, we should, but you don't beat the system by playing into the system. You don't, I mean, there are certain things that you have to kind of go along with, unfortunately, like how it'd be great to have a lot of reform in different systems we have politically here in America, yet we have to work within the system to change them, at least to an extent, in our democracy and stuff. But you can't work within the system of, say, patriarchy and say, well, okay, I mean, you work in the system, but you can't follow the rules, as in, like, okay, I'm going to be slut shamed if I stay up. So to fight the patriarchy, I'm going to follow the patriarchy. I'm going to avoid being slut shamed. It's like, no, the proper way to handle that kind of thing, in my opinion, as and really it is, the man has like full power in that kind of situation, because if I was in this kind of situation, and we're in 2022 now, so it's not going to happen, but where a woman was hooking up with me and they were worried about being slut shamed, one thing I would do is, for one, just really confirm that I'm definitely not going to slut shame her. I'm not going to kiss and tell. I'm not going to do any of that. Um, it's just going to simply, and if anybody did slut shame her, like, some bullshit happened where, like, say we were friends and we hooked up, or we started dating and we hooked up too soon according to other people's standards or whatever, maybe she had like super conservative parents or whatever, and they're like, oh, are you guys having sex? And they're like, I don't know, all kind of different things could happen, right? What you do in that situation as the man is you stand up for her. What you do as the person who has the patriarchal power in that system is you stand up for her. You're like, yeah, we did, because we're attracted to each other and she's an adult and she can make her own decisions. Fuck off. Like, that's it. That's it. Um, but yeah. Okay, maybe she really does want to sleep over, but maybe she wants even more to avoid being labeled a whore and shunned by her community. Okay, so we're just, okay. Her reasons for saying no don't matter. They're still her reasons. And it sucks that he's not respecting them. He's putting her in a bad position by trying to coax her into doing something she might really regret, even if she also enjoys herself. A lot of people, myself included to an extent, have social anxiety through a ton of different situations throughout, however you want to phrase that, a bunch of different situations. If a friend of yours wants to take you out, wants to, take you to a bar, a club, or what have you, right? Or you're in some really sad state of depression, and they're trying to not force you, but encourage you to go out, have a good time, break out of your shell, and do what you actually want to do because they're connecting with you and they see, like, kind of the state that you're in, and they want to help you get out of that state into a more enjoyable one. That's perfectly fine. In this situation, the man is trying to help her break out of her shell. He's trying to be like, hey, it doesn't matter what other people say. What matters right here is you and me in this moment. And he does even point out a couple moments, which we'll get to later, where he does absolutely give her the opportunity to leave. He's not happy about it, but he gives her the opportunity to do so. And again, she keeps coming back and saying things like, maybe half a drink more, maybe a cigarette more, maybe this, maybe this. What are other people going to think? All these different things. And it is true that if in a situation in life, if somebody tells you no for any reason, you should respect that, absolutely. But she is constantly hemming and hawing throughout the whole thing too. That's the whole point here. That is the entire point of this song. I've got to go home. Baby, you freeze out there. Lend me a coat. It's up to your knees out there. You've really been grand. I throw when you touch my hand. But you don't see. But don't you see? How could you do this thing to me? There's bound to be talk tomorrow. Think of my lifelong sorrow. At least there will be plenty implied. If you caught pneumonia and died. Right. So again, we have right here, there's bound to be talk tomorrow. At least there will be plenty implied. This isn't about her. This is about other people. And of course, now here's the thing too, right? If it actually is that cold and I've lived in Florida my entire life. I've only ever seen real snow like twice, I can count on one hand the amount of times I've seen snow, put it that way. So I actually don't know if weather outside can get cold enough for people to get pneumonia. I don't know that. But I mean, yeah, if I had been dating this woman for a while and I've fallen in love and she did catch pneumonia and died, I feel fucking horrible about that. Like, holy shit. Yeah. Whoops. Okay, so Rapey. She's resisting all the way to the end. Given that they sing the final chorus together, it seems right. So we have right. I really can't stay. Get over that old doubt. I thought it was get over that old out. I thought it was get over that old doubt. Anyway, and they sing baby it's cold outside, right? She's resisting all the way to the end. Given that they sing the final chorus together, it seems like he finally wears her down. But wearing down a woman's resistance isn't romantic, it's rapey, and often it's just plain rape. Romantic. Of course they sing the final chorus together. That's the point. The whole thing has been a delicious back and forth dance of seduction, and it ends in harmony. No more obstacles, no more excuses, just the two of them deciding to have great consensual sex like they both knew they wanted to do all along. And just to be clear on this, by the way, they don't even have to actually have sex by the end of this. It's quite likely that they do, but they don't have to. They could literally just spend the night together talking and cuddling on the couch for all it mattered. It doesn't matter. The point is, she wanted to stay and he wanted her to stay. What happens after that, what they do explicitly when they stay, doesn't really matter. I mean, consent matters for everything, not just sex. But anyway, why any of this matters. At a certain point, spending hundreds of words close reading a Christmas song starts to feel a little silly. What's the point of yelling at people on the internet about this? If you like the song, you like it. If you don't, you don't. But here's the thing. Culture matters. We send and receive signals every day about who we are, who we want to be, or who we ought to be through the books, movies, and music we consume. And often, people take offense to the suggestion that something they like is no longer acceptable by the public at large. That offense can manifest as complaints about political correctness, run amok. And these complaints can become deep resentments, the kind that Trump tapped into masterfully during his successful presidential campaign. This is like, so far, this is like the best article I've ever read, especially by Vox. But the debate over this specific song is also really about the deep anxieties our country is facing right now over how to deal with sexual consent. By the way, this part right here, people take offense to the suggestion that something they like is no longer acceptable by the public at large. Holy shit, that hits so well. That is 100% a large part of the point here. It's not just that, but it's part of it. This is such a good article. If you touch someone, oh my god, okay, I have to do it. There was this, okay, we have this line here that says, if you touch someone in a sexual way without her consent, you've committed, anyway. So that immediately makes me think of this classic scene. Real quick, in the early 90s, there was a very, I would say, excuse me, very like Looney Tunes, Rocko's Modern Life cartoony Sonic the Hedgehog cartoon called The Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. Is this the one? This is only 32 seconds. Yeah, this has to be the one. And in it, there was an episode called, so in it, at the end of every episode, Sonic would do this thing with Tails here, where he would basically, it would be like an after-school special, give advice to the kids kind of thing, right? And he would do this thing called Sonic Says. I have this cute little thing, Tails paint says wrong, he corrects it, and he would give things. One of them was about, like, don't smoke, all these different things, right? There's apparently, all of them? Yeah, there's like half an hour of these, apparently. There was an episode called Lovesick Sonic. And in that episode, Sonic is constantly lusting over this robot that Eggman built in order to... Robotnik, as he was called back then, and has always been called in Japan. Semantics. He was lusting over this robot that Robotnik had built to distract him. And at the end of the episode, we have this classic internet gem where Sonic teaches consent. And by the way, this is actually really, really fucking good. What the hell just happened to the... Oh god, is this how YouTube's image looks now? This is awful. God damn it, YouTube. YouTube is always changing unnecessary shit, and it pisses me off so much. If we do this, can I... Nope. Okay, cool. Oh, you know what? Maybe it's because of the aspect ratio of the actual video. I don't... Whatever. Anyway.
Kids, there's nothing more cool than being hugged by someone you like. But if someone tries to touch you in a place or in a way that makes you feel uncomfortable, that's no good. It's your body. No one has the right to touch you if you don't want them to. So what do? First, you say no. Then, you get out of there. Most important, you gotta tell someone you trust. Like your parents, your teacher.
Okay. A police officer was like the last thing he said, but... Yeah. No, that's a real thing from the actual show. Yeah, uploaded 13 years ago. Yeah, that's a real thing. Wait a minute. Oh, yeah, and then you had the that's no good. That became like a meme, especially in the Sonic community, for a long time. It still is a meme, but it's great. I love it. So, and by the way, just real quick, for all the people that want to all the conservatives and the right wing nuts that want to talk about how, oh, we shouldn't be teaching kids about, you know, sexuality and stuff like that. That kind of stuff in that video with Sonic there, that is the kind of stuff and the kind of way that you need to teach kids about these kind of things. Like you said, being hugged or something by someone you like, that's great, cool, that's cool if you want it. But yes, it is important to teach kids consent and to tell them if someone touches you in a place or way that makes you feel uncomfortable, that's no good. Don't fucking do it. Kids do need to learn these messages, but that is an entirely different, excuse me, an entirely different conversation, I feel, for another day that I will probably inevitably talk about as well. Anyway, that line, if you touch someone in a, yeah, you know, it obviously, you know, made me think of that. Anyway, okay. Those are serious crimes, but they're still not taken as seriously as they should be. That is true. Sexual assault is common but underreported, and conviction rates are abysmally low. But some people seem much more concerned about a much rarer phenomenon, false rape accusations, and the remote possibility that a young man's life could be ruined by them. As such, survivors who come forward still routinely face vicious character smears from people who sympathize with the accused or who just don't want to believe that sexual assault is as common as it is. So, all right. We're really tackling a lot here. I'm glad I decided to go over this article. We're covering a lot here. I've talked before about how I very much believe the phrase should not be believe all women, but specifically listen to victims, especially and possibly exclusively the ones that you know personally. If somebody who you know personally comes to you and tells you, hey, I'm dealing with this, hey, this person took advantage of me in this way, those kind of things, as a friend, as a family member, as somebody who has a relationship with that person and a confidant, you should listen to them, hear them out, and more or less be on their side. But these random users on Twitter and different things like that just go after people and they're like, you know, such and such did this, or when Thought Slime did his anti-Xan, like he did this whole thing about Xander Hall having this what do you call it? Like running a sex cult, basically. It was fucking ridiculous. Yeah, you do need to be skeptical about those kind of things. I'm personally not a fan of just going along with the court of public opinion. If people who you personally know come to you about something, absolutely believe and support them. But if some random person you don't know just puts out something online or on Twitter, it's like, here's a thread about all these things that this person did to me, and I have no proof or evidence or anything, and you don't know me at all, I don't fucking know you. I'm sorry. I'm not going to just listen to you and just believe you just because. If I knew you personally and I knew your character, maybe, but I don't, so I'm not going to. But at the same time, they say, you know, a lot of people are afraid of false accusations. Yeah, a lot of people are afraid of false accusations. That's something that I've been afraid of myself. And the best way that you can get over that fear, just hope it doesn't happen. Because if it does happen, not really much you can do about it. I mean, you can't prove something that didn't happen. But at the same time, you can do things, and you should do things, of course, to ensure that you are getting enthusiastic consent. I joke about this as well, but it is true that, you know, for me, I would say like my biggest kick, my biggest turn on is enthusiastic consent, because, you know, I love when you're with a woman and she is just like, you know, all over you and completely like she's dying to have you, and you're feeling that same way toward her. But anything less than that, I'm kind of like, why would I even want to bother? If you're not like, you know, basically, begging me for this experience, and we're not like we're not tearing each other's clothes off and everything. Like, why do I want this at all? Like, I don't know, but I do think at the same time, the fear of false allegations is, while not common, not unfounded either, especially for black men. It's taken decades of activism to fight victim-blaming narratives about why rape might really be a woman's fault, but they're still pervasive. And some of those narratives, as we saw after the infamous Access Hollywood Trump tapes came out, go even further than blaming the victim. Now, keep in mind, this was written in 2016. Anyway, they obscure the definition of sexual assault. They deliberately blur the lines between non-consensual sex, touching, or assault and alpha male seduction. That's why the Trump tapes were uh, dismissed as locker room talk, and why some of his surrogates, including alarmingly Trump's attorney general pick Jeff Sessions, refused to admit that Trump's boasts described assault. I know one of the big things that Trump said was that when you're famous, they let you get away with it. Listen, I don't like Trump. I don't like the guy at all. But it is true, hear me out, it is true that all of the rules that people have when it comes to dating and different things, especially in regards to approaching and all that stuff, like, oh, don't approach a woman if she's at the gym. Don't approach a woman if she's really existing anywhere. You know, I mean, there's always things where like, don't approach a woman at the grocery store. Don't approach a woman at the mall. When the fuck do you approach? Like, what the hell? The reality is all of those rules go out of the window if you are somebody who is attractive to them. And the reality is that everything that is flirtatious, that is romantic, that is all of those different things only is such because that attraction is reciprocated. Classic scenes like that movie where the guy holds the boombox at the end of outside the woman's window, or the Notebook. Those are only romantic because the attraction is reciprocated. If the person who you're flirting with is attracted to you, yeah, sure, you can throw pebbles at their window and hope they wake up. You know, you can do, because it's the same thing with any kind of other friend that you have. I think I might have talked about this before. I'm not entirely sure I have, but I may talk about it in the future as well. But it's the same thing with anything else. You know, a friend that comes to your house late at night because they notice you're feeling down and everything, is being a perceptive friend, and they're wanting to help you, you know, get your spirits up. A random person who just comes up to you on the street or comes to your house or something, they followed you home and they're like, oh, hey, I wanted to make sure you were okay. What the fuck, dude? You know, like, that's the whole thing. Like, is that attraction, is that type of relationship, are you and the person that you are having this relationship, is it reciprocated? Are you guys on the same page? If you're not, that's when it becomes creepy or rapey or whatever you want to call it, problematic. But if that attraction is had and shared, then it is consensual. Now, of course, you know, consent can always be redacted, and just because somebody is physically attracted to someone doesn't mean they're necessarily going to sleep with someone on the first date or anything like that, or, you know, any of those kind of things. But a lot of the rules that people give for people being excuse me, a lot of the rules that people give for when you can and can't approach and all these different things just don't hold up to reality. The truth is, the main thing what you want to do is be as attractive as you can and just, you know, do everything you can to be as attractive as possible and stack the deck in your favor and approach women with respect. If they say no, honor that, leave them alone. But at the same time, if they want to do something, whatever that may be, go on a date, hook up, start an actual relationship, whatever they want, like, cool, honor that too. Now, I do want to be clear, by the way, as far as like victim blaming and stuff goes, the whole like, oh, look what she was wearing. I had a friend a while ago. We were leaving someplace, and I guess it was prom night for high schoolers. These girls were walking to their car in the parking lot that we were at, and they were walking to some car and leaving. And he was like, those girls are asking for it. And I'm like, what the fuck do you mean? What do you mean they're asking for it? He's like, well, being dressed like that with those dresses and everything, they're looking to get raped. I'm like, no, what? I'm like, no, they're not. Like, what do you want of me? He's like, well, the way women. No. There is no like the way women dress. Like, so I had to, kind of set them straight on all that. But those are common things that people think. And in regards to that kind of stuff with rape culture and stuff, yeah, that is fucked up. Just like in regards to, a woman being passed out, or also if you need to get a woman like actually so drunk that she's like slurring and everything, and she can't make it home on her own and all that stuff, you're just not an attractive person, and you don't know what you're doing with women at all. So, yeah. But by the way, the reason there's this like narrative that, oh well, men always want sex, which first of all, they don't. Asexual men do exist. Men with low libidos exist. I am a man who has a very high libido, so it is not often for me to turn that down, but it still has to be with the right kind of person, with somebody that I am attracted to. I have had friends, I've been friends with people who were very much into me, and I did not share that at all. In that instance, if they had tried anything, and a few times they did, that's not cool. I wouldn't go so far as to say it was assault, but it wasn't cool. But a key victory in the fight against victim blaming has been a more evolved understanding of why consent is essential during sex. It's led to the concept of affirmative consent, that instead of putting the burden on women to say no means no, it should be the man's responsibility to understand that yes means yes. I do like this. This is enthusiastic consent, where you have not just, because the idea for a long time with a lot of men was basically like, well, as long as she doesn't say no, it's perfectly fine. No. You don't want her your goal in anything should not be to get somebody that you are wanting to have an experience with to just not say no. You want them to say yes. Why? Because for one, you should want them to enjoy the experience as well. But more than that, like, if they're having a good time, you'll have a good time. If they have a good time one time, they may want to have a good time again, and so on and so forth. And above any of that, just be a decent human being and respect them. So, yeah, it's not just no means no, it's yes means yes. And again, this applies to anything. I would much rather have, if I want to binge a new show or watch a movie with a buddy of mine I'm hanging out with, for example, I hang out with one of my friends a lot. He stays over a lot, and we binge a lot of like Netflix and stuff. I'll be going through stuff, and I'll be like, "Oh, you want to watch that?" And he might be like, And if he's like, then I'm not going to be like, "All right, well, let's watch it." I want let's watch it. Let's check that out, or yeah, I could check that out. Let's go for it. That kind of thing, right? Not like I'm not really interested. Like, well, that's not a no. We're gonna watch it, And obviously, watching a show on Netflix with a friend is a lot less severe than having sexual intercourse with somebody who, well, not even who doesn't want it, but having sexual intercourse in general. But with anything, your goal should be to get consent from the person that you are trying to that you are wanting to experience the activity with. If you're not getting consent, why the fuck would you even want to bother? Like, I don't know, I just don't get it. Okay, it should be the man's responsibility to understand that yes means yes, and to make the effort to learn what that looks like in practice. This year, Minneapolis singer-songwriter couple Lydia Liza and Josiah Lamonsky decided to record a new version of Baby It's Cold Outside, which emphasized the importance of affirmative consent. When Liza sings that she can't stay, Lamonsky replies, "Baby, I'm cool with that." He puts no pressure on her, tells her what a nice time he had, and tries to help her get home safely. So is that where did I have it? Is that what this was? I really can't stay, baby, I'm fine with that. Gotta go away, baby, I'm cool with that. What the fuck? What is this shit? Oh my god. The neighbors might think that you're a real nice girl. So what's in this drink? Pomegranate LaCroix? I wish I knew how. Maybe I can help you out to break the spell. I don't know what you're talking about. I ought to say no, no, no. You reserve the right to say no. Oh my, guys, this is the worst fucking shit. Oh my god, okay, this is awful. Yes, consent is essential. But this is just super fucking cringe. If you're dating someone, or hell, even if you're not dating, if you're in any kind of situation with someone and you're just like talking so whatever you want to call that, where you're like, well, you reserve the right to say no. You just come off as so cringe, so try hard, so like, oh my, that's fucking awful. Okay, cool, that's great. Glad that's something that exists in the world. So bad. Oh, it's so bad. Whatever. Okay. Yeah, that's why conservatives are like, oh, liberals are so cringe they can't, they want to ruin everything. Yeah, that is pretty bad. Writing for The Federalist, Bree Payton skewered the rewrite as the unsexiest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. 100%. 100%. Again, all love songs, all everything. Like, if it's not what makes it romantic, the difference between romance and a restraining order is specifically and explicitly shared attraction. That's it. That's it. That's all it is. It's not complicated. It's an elaborate dance. Okay, the 1944 original, she said, is steamy because it's elaborate dance of subtleties during which a man successfully seduces a woman into staying just a bit longer. But now, millennials, the can I touch you here generation, want to take all of that away. Payton writes, in the age of affirmation of consent, it's apparently sexier when a man practically pushes you out the door for fear one might mistake flirting for something sinister. These are common objections to consent culture. Some worry that men could be unjustly prosecuted under yes means yes laws without a notarized form of for every kiss. And there's also a more everyday fear that affirmative consent will kill seduction and romance altogether. For the most part, as Amanda Taub explained for Vox in 2014, these fears are overblown because getting affirmative consent isn't actually that complicated. But more importantly, they miss the reason why affirmative consent is necessary in the first place. The no means no standard is exhausting for women, and it's all too easy for rapists to take advantage of because they can claim to see consent in everything except continuous, unequivocal rejection. From the perspective of actually trying to have a genuine consensual sex life, there's nothing particularly burdensome here. Don't take advantage of someone else's inebriation. Hold out for enthusiasm instead of resignation. You don't need to be a rocket scientist in order to have a conversation in advance about boundaries or to agree on a safe word. A safe word is for kink play, not for just regular vanilla sex. Like, it's just not. You don't, like, you're not going to be dating someone and being like, the safe word is red. Like, what the fuck? Like, what? I'm sorry. Again, here's the problem with this. Consent is extremely important. But these are the kind of things that is just, I mean, optically it's horrible for us, for those that want to properly affirm consent and different things like that, and are more progressive and all that good stuff. Optically, it's a nightmare. But more than that, this is just bad. This is just bad all around. I think there's a very easy way to understand how consent works. how to ask for consent in a sexy manner. Basically, it's as simple as this. When you are doing things leading up to anything sexual, um, you want to use terminology such as "I want to," "I want to kiss you," "I want to take you inside." Oh, of course, you can would you like "I want to" or "Would you like to." You don't ask them. You don't ask "Can I." You express your wants and you clarify wants and desires and you clarify theirs as well. "I want to kiss you." Um, "I'd like to take you inside." "Would you like to come inside?" "Would you like a drink?" "Would you like this?" "Would you like that?" "Would you like to come to the bedroom?" "Would you like this?" "Would you like to sit down with me?" "Would you like to sit on my lap?" Again, "I want to kiss you." "I'm dying to rip your clothes off." Things like that. And when you're in the act of actually having sex, same thing. Do you like being spanked? Do you like being choked? Especially for spanking and choking. Talking about kink, Jesus. Especially for those things. It is true that consent doesn't have to be as complicated as a lot of people make it out to sound, but at the same time, consent is not this like you don't need like written forms for people to have consent. It's wild. It's wild. If if your partner if your partner sends signals that confuse you, stop. What you lose in nights of passion, you will gain in nights of not being a rapist. Oh my! I hate the extremes here. It's like again, it's like what I was talking about before. People were like, "Oh, you're afraid of being lonely and depressed." Well, women are afraid of being assaulted. Like, yeah, those are different fears, and it is terrible that women have to be afraid of that stuff. But like, the conversations like this and viewing consent in this manner perpetuates rape culture because you have men that'll basically just say fuck it, I'm not going to bother with consent at all, which is like really bad. Um, yeah, because I mean, if the for a lot of people, if the option is what you lose in nights of passion, you'll gain in nights of not being raped. So it's basically like saying, well, you either don't get any, or you're a rapist. It's like you can't win. Like shit. What's the answer? Don't try. Like fuck. Indeed, the lovers in the Liza/Lamensky rewrite end up losing a night of passion, but a few awkward phrases like "you reserve the right to say no" aside, it's not unsexy at all. Yeah, I'm sorry, that's just fucking awful. Here, let me find again. Where do we need this? Yeah, I really have like. At least I've been getting that. Wait, hold up. We're bound to be talking tomorrow. At least I've been getting that vibe. I'll be on my way. Thanks for the great night. Bye bye. Drive safe. Oh my fucking Christ. Like, I get it. I really get what they're going for. I think it's a noble attempt. I do, but god damn is it cringy as hell. The guy isn't shoving the girl out the door. He's being a gentleman and taking her desires seriously. Once he takes the pressure off, the will we, won't we tension of the song is still there. No, it's not. But it's all on her end, as she asks herself whether maybe she should stay. Okay, let's look at these lyrics again. No, wait. Yeah, it already was a will they. These are the same lyrics on her end. It already was a will they, won't they on her end. She's going back with herself the entire time of, do I want this, do I not? Or not even so much do I want this, but like, am I willing to risk my reputation, essentially? Um, it's sweet and affectionate, and you feel sweet and affectionate, and you feel certain when the song is over that there will be other nights of passion for this couple in the very near future. Sure, but like if you handle every instance like that, it's never going to go anywhere. Given the historical and musical context, you don't have to turn off your feminist card if you don't interpret the original Baby It's Cold Outside lyrics as a literal depiction of date rape. In 1944, affirmative consent wasn't even an option for the woman. That's true as well. She would have had to protect her reputation by either playing hard to get or not allowing herself to be gotten at all. And the way the song is written, a playful call and response duet that resolves harmoniously definitely sounds like mutual desire. Exactly. But every sexual situation is dependent on context. It depends on the relationship two people have, the chemistry between them, the particular verbal or nonverbal communication that's going on, and the clarity or lack thereof that both people want something to happen. Seducing someone and making the first move isn't sexual assault, but it can be if it's unwanted. So if it's also totally fair, by the way, this is going to be a hot take, but I firmly believe that it's only assault if you continue. So people in situations get the wrong idea all the time. If you're in a situation with someone, you get the wrong vibe, you go in for a kiss, and then she rejects you, then you apologize. You say, "Oh, sorry, I was picking up a different vibe." And same thing if she does that to you or another man or woman or what have you. So if you read a situation wrong, that doesn't make you a bad person. That just means you misread the situation. That's fine. You can come back from that. You can move on from that. The important thing is, how do you react to the fact that you misread the situation? Now, so like if you go in for a kiss and that's not what was wanted to be happening there, you respect that and you move on. If you continue pursuing after the kiss, then, after they've rejected you in some way, that's when it becomes an issue. Just as an example. So it's also totally fair if the song makes you uncomfortable, because in even a slightly different context, the same dialogue in Baby It's Cold Outside could have easily played out as a bad coercive experience for the woman, and the man could have very easily justified it after the fact, because the burden wasn't on him to make sure his partner was comfortable with the experience. It should be, though, and as a culture, we're only beginning to imagine what that looks and sounds like. Yeah. Yeah, no, at the end of the day, I actually, overall, I really do like this article. I think it was very well written, very well done. In fact, let me see, who did this article? Emily Crockett. I wonder if they've done anything else good. International Women's Day explained why Donald Trump keeps calling Elizabeth Warren Pocahontas. Will making it easier. Say women should be able to have sex for pleasure, not pregnancy. Yeah, of course. All people should. Like, yeah. President Trump. Okay, yeah. I mean, sure. So it looks like she does some pretty good work. I mean, that was a really well written article. I like that one a lot. So yeah, no, I'm very much in the camp at the end of the day that it is a progressive song. It is a feminist song, and do I want to keep going on this? I mean, I did have these other articles to read. You know what? I mean, once the progressive anthem for progressiveness, what happened? Maybe it's time for no. All these other things are just going to be me debunking everything that it said. Maybe this variety one, I might really well agree on this one. What's the takeaway here? There are so many wonderful songs holiday season. Yada yada yada. Someone who wants to, no doubt will be battling over each quote, but when err on the side of actual reading and listening comprehension and hilarious rhyme schemes, and most of all, art that catches women in the act of realizing exactly what they want. Um, sure, yeah. Okay, sure, whatever. No, I think this article really summed it up the best. I'd highly recommend. You can check out any of these other articles you want as well. But yeah, at the end of the day, I think this is good. I made this account for nothing. I'm sure there'll be something in the Washington Post to cover at some point in the future, but whatever. In any case, yeah. So at the end of the day, as always, art is what you make it to be. Art is how you interpret it, and that's valid. That's fine. That's good. But I see nothing wrong with that song that is, to me and many other people, very clearly about flirtation and attraction and all those good things. And while I can understand that people would take a more sinister view of it, I think that that is, at least for the most part, not overblown, but just misunderstood. And I think that these are things that need to be kept in mind when viewing these kind of things and art in general. And of course, looking at the context and all those different things are very important as well. So you have all those things to take into account with these things. But anyway, as always, these are just my thoughts. Please let me know what your comments are down below. Follow me on social media for more. Subscribe to the Vote to stay up to date. Leave a like if you like. And if not, I hope you find something to do like. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Later, guys. Take care. Peace and love.